Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWUS. Continuing on with MLB Wednesday, we got Blue Jays Phillies here. That's what I'm going through in this video. 2 live shows tomorrow. Going to go live at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. We'll go through the day games. There's a bunch of day games because it's Wednesday. And then we'll be live again at 4 p.m. Eastern time to do the NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, and the night games. So 2 live shows tomorrow if you're able to make it. This video, Blue Jays Phillies. Let's go.
Welcome to the SWUS. The SWUS. Hey, get the SWUS.
All right, so like I said, Toronto's on the road here in Philadelphia. Phillies are minus 155 favorites. Total sitting at 8. On the mound for the Blue Jays, we got Chris Bassett. For the Phillies, we got Aaron Nola pitching. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet, and according to the model, we got a pretty heavy lean on the Phillies here, 3.3 to 2.3 after 5 innings. Final score, 5.93 to 4.14 Phillies. All right, let's start with the matchup for Aaron Nola against the Blue Jays bats, and surprisingly, Toronto's actually got solid career numbers against Aaron Nola through 77 career plate appearances. They're hitting 275 off him with an 829 OPS. Not bad at all. In his 6 career starts against Toronto, Aaron Nola is just 2-2 with a 5.29 ERA and a 148 WHIP. So the Blue Jays have given Aaron Nola problems in the past. That being said, his last 2 home starts against the Blue Jays went really well. In his last 2 starts at home in Philly, he's 1-0 with a 2.13 ERA and an 0.87 WHIP. So Aaron Nola has struggled against Toronto over the course of his career, but his last 2 home starts against them were good. If you look at Aaron Nola's game logs, he was excellent in April. He started off with a really rough start against the Braves to start the season back in late March. You can see right here in his game logs, his 5 starts there in April were excellent. But look at his last start. Home against the San Francisco Giants, one of the worst lineups in baseball against right-handed pitching. Just 4 innings pitched, and he gave up 8 base runners. 4 hits and 4 walks against the Giants with a 6.23 expected FIP. That is not good at all. Now, the good news for Aaron Nola is a home start against the Toronto Blue Jays should be a pretty good bounce-back spot for him. Blue Jays bats has just been terrible against right-handed pitching. I mean, 25th across the board in the last 14 days, bottom 3 or 4 in the last 7 days. And if you look at the game logs of righty starters pitching against Toronto, I mean, they couldn't get to Jake Irvin. They couldn't get to Seth Lugo. Tyler Glasnow, I'll give him a pass for that one, but they couldn't get to Gavin Stone. They couldn't get to Alec Marsh. I mean, there are not exactly Cy Young candidates on this list that the Blue Jays just can't get to. And it gets even worse for Toronto when you look at their home-away splits. I mean, they're pretty terrible against right-handed pitching, but on the road against right-handed pitching, they're 27th in WRC plus 24th in isolated power on the season. So, yeah, pretty ugly-looking numbers from the Blue Jays there. And then you take into consideration that Toronto's got 6 righties in their lineup. They're a pretty righty-heavy lineup. Aaron Nola's got excellent numbers against righties this year. Some of the best numbers in baseball. Talking about a 249 WOBA, an 099 WHIP, and a 269 expected FIP against right-handed bats. So overall, this looks like a really tough matchup for the Blue Jays lineup, but there is one thing, the pitch mix. Aaron Nola throws a ton of curveballs. In fact, 31.1% of his pitches are the curveballs, all those knuckle curveballs. Toronto's 3rd in Major League Baseball hitting that pitch. And look at the pitch mix here. Knuckle curve, 4-seam fastball, and the sinker. Those are Aaron Nola's 3 main pitches. The Toronto Blue Jays happen to have nice hitting numbers against all 3 of those pitches. So as much as it looks like a great spot for Aaron Nola to bounce back after the Giants spot, I think Toronto's going to get to him a little bit. I know that's probably a sharp take. Most people probably are expecting Aaron Nola to deal here. I think Toronto's going to score some runs on him. Now, good news for the Phillies is on the other side, we got Chris Bassett starting, and he's really having a tough time this year. 5.45 ERA, 168 WHIP. Some ugly-looking numbers to start the season for Chris Bassett. He does have a 4.34 expected FIP, indicating maybe he's had a bit of bad luck, but I really don't have a ton of faith in Chris Bassett right now. And the fact that this game's on the road makes it all the much worse. This dates back multiple years, by the way. This isn't just this season. Chris Bassett has always been more reliable at home. That's dating back to his year with the Mets in 2022. But you can see his home away splits this year, right, just as expected. He's got a 6.14 ERA on the road this year with a 198 whip. That's truly awful. So the fact that this game's in Philadelphia is not good news for Bassett. And he's pitching against the Phillies lineup, which has been red hot against right-handed pitching. One of the best lineups in baseball against righties. You can see top 5 across the board. Last 30 days, last 14 days, last 7 days. Doesn't matter. Phillies are red hot against righties. The last 13 righty starters to pitch against the Phillies combined for a 9.60 ERA and a whip over 2. So they have been annihilating righty starters. Now, if you're looking for some kind of angle to back Bassett here, you can point at the fact that Chris Bassett was very good against the Phillies in 2022 with the Mets. He made 4 starts against the Phillies. He was 3-0 with a 1.59 ERA and a 1.06 whip. So those are great numbers. He pitched really well against the Phillies in 2022 with the Mets, but that was 2 years ago, and he really doesn't look like the same pitcher. I don't have much faith in Bassett at all here. So as much as I think the Blue Jays will score some runs on Aaron Nola, there's no way I can trust Chris Bassett. Now, when we get to the second half of the game, I don't trust either of these bullpens. Now, the Phillies bullpen has definitely been slightly better than the Blue Jays, and you can look at the expected FIP numbers, indicating that the Phillies bullpen has been better than their numbers show. But still, this is just not a bullpen I trust. See, in the last 30 days, the Phillies bullpen, 22nd in ERA, 24th in WOBA. But the good news is the Toronto's bullpen has been even worse than that. One of the worst in baseball the last 14 days, even with Romero and Swanson back. Because remember, they missed the beginning of the season with injury. Even with those guys back in the bullpen, Toronto's still been terrible in the second half of games. And then, surprise, surprise, hitting numbers against bullpen edge goes to the Phillies. Phillies in the last 14 days have been a top 10 lineup against bullpens in innings 6+. Toronto's been one of the worst in baseball. So there's no way I can bet the Blue Jays here, because even if I like Toronto to get to Nola, which I do, I don't trust Chris Bassett, and I don't trust the Blue Jays bats or the Blue Jays bullpen at all. So what does that lead to? An over. I like the over here. This number's at 8.5. You can get it 8. I'm going to take the over at 8. Prop Beaver did write his pick here on the notes. He likes Aaron Nola to record a win or Phillies double result. So that's what Prop Beaver likes. Aaron Nola to record a win or Phillies double result. I personally am just going to take the over. I'm going to grab one of those 8s now. So give me the over. Like I said earlier, we got 2 live shows on Wednesday. 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, we'll go through the MLB day games. 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, we'll go through NHL playoffs, NBA playoffs, and MLB night games. If you're able to make it, we'd love to see you in the comments. If you want my top bets for NBA or MLB, or the top bets from anyone on the staff here, head over to KyleKirms.com. They're posted right on the website. There's also a link to join the Discord on the homepage if you're interested. Let's have ourselves a good Wednesday here. Hope to see you in the live show. Remember to bet responsibly, and I'll talk to you in the Discord.